Noam Freeman, come on up.
Peace and blessings. How we doing? Are we enjoying the revolution? Some people getting scared. I don't want y'all to get scared. This is just getting to the good part. My name is Noam Freeman, Angry Black Man in Therapy. I'm here to represent the Washington, D.C. community. I'm running for D.C. delegate. We don't have a vote in Congress, so we don't say congressman, we say delegate. But simply because we don't have a vote, we should have a voice. And I'm rising to the occasion to espouse people, planet, for the Green Party. And to be associated with you guys, to be associated with Jill Stein is an honor. I think it's very important at this time. A lot of you are familiar with Martin Luther King's last speech, or at least you should be. I know they don't teach this in school anymore. But his next to his last speech was delivered in Washington, D.C. It was delivered March 31st, 1968. It was entitled Remaining Awake During a Great Revolution. He goes on to say in that speech that far too often people live in periods of great social change, but yet they fail to develop the new ideas, new mental responses that the new situation demands. They end up sleeping through a revolution. He was talking about the story of Rip Van Winkle. And a lot of us know the story. He goes to the mountaintop, sleeps for 20 years. But he pointed out a little lesser known fact that at the base of that mountain, it said King George. 20 years later, when he came down from that mountain, it said President Washington. He had slept literally through a revolution. And I submit that a lot of us are sleeping through a revolution right now. If we think that Trump again, Biden again, is all the choices that we have, and we must accept them without question, then we are missing the point of this revolutionary moment in history. In fact, that's why they even submit that stay woke is a pejorative. And Trump is basically anti-woke as fuck because you see he can't even stay woke in the RNC. So I just want to say that it was also an honor to see that Henry David Thoreau has been credited as one of your Green founders. I love that. He's a hero of mine. In fact, let me make sure I get the quote together for Henry David Thoreau. I hope y'all don't mind me going more than 2 minutes. I drove 200 miles, so I hope I get more than 2 minutes here. The world is but a canvas to our imagination. The world is but a canvas to our imagination. You know, one of my mentors, his name is Rock Newman. You may not know him, but he's a DC legend. He was the boxing promoter, independent boxing promoter for Riddick Bowe when he was heavyweight champion. All right, any boxing fans might know that. Tyson was in jail. He held the belt, kept it warm until he came back, okay? And he tells the story that he was in a negotiation with HBO, some pay-per-view deal, millions of dollars on the table. And they're discussing, negotiating. And they had come to a passe, right? Impasse, I should say. And the industry people said, let's take a break, come back. They step out in the hall. He says, Rock, why did you turn down that deal? That was more money than you ever dreamed of. And Rock Newman was incensed. He said, how dare you describe to me the limits of my dreams? And that always stuck with me. How dare this system describe to us the limits of our dreams, the limits of our imagination, the system that we should have instead of the system that we do have. They cannot determine to tell you what you should find acceptable. How dare they describe the limits to your imagination to dream of a better world and to accept that which is what is given? How dare they? So I want to share a few quotes that inspires me, and I hope it inspires you. This is from Thomas Sankara. He was the president of Burkina Faso, formerly the Ivory Coast, assassinated by the CIA. They call him the Che Guevara of Africa. He says, you cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. In this case, it comes from nonconformity. the courage to turn your back on the old formulas, the courage to invent the future. It took the madmen of yesterday for us to be able to act with extreme clarity today. I want to be one of those madmen. I'm reading from my book, by the way. It's my pandemic baby. It's a novel, Conflict Over Water Set in the Future, Nineveh, at all the local bookstores. And I want us to be unapologetic in our boldness. Someone was quoting
Albert Einstein.
Says, imagination is more important than knowledge. So it's not necessarily what you know, it's what you can think of, what you can dream of, what you can imagine. And we are saying to the world that we are daring to imagine a better system, a different system. We should have the largest voter turnout in the history of America for third-party candidates in this election cycle, and we just say it with our chests, unapologetically. And saying, oh, well, you can't do that. This election is too important. We heard that before, right? Every election is too important. Definition of sanity, Elder quoted that. But it's but you'll bring chaos. You bring the wrath of Trump on our heads. So let's leave this with them. This is from Taking Sides, a revolutionary solidarity and the poverty of liberalism. It says here that we often suffer from a collective amnesia about the crucial role of lawbreaking in the history of social change. Martin Luther King Jr., the paragon of pacifist protests, was arrested an impressive 30 times between 1955 and 1965. That means he was arrested more than Dr. Stein. You know, you're going for the title though, right? You're going for the title. Okay. And still the effectiveness of the militant pacifism can only be properly understood against the background of many other, much more tumultuous, y'all help me out, tumultuous political conflicts, riots included, that occurred throughout the civil rights movement. Political change does not, and never has, come about through peaceful protest alone, which is why they always repeat, keep it peaceful. Look, there's a certain thing called righteous indignation. And we have a right to be mad. We have a right to struggle. And you also have a right to defend yourself. And then I was also inspired by your, was the Green magazine that we have on the tables?
Green Horizon.
Green Horizon. And they said decentralizing. And they were saying how that power should be diffused to the lowest level possible, which means to a bioregional level, if possible, for a community level. And that the small, place-based community, where members are generally known to each other, it is primarily there that power should reside. What we're doing here is applying a think global, but act local focus in our activism. And that's where the change is going to come, from a grassroots. But just like Noam Chomsky said, we do not live in society where the people determine gov't policy. That should no longer be acceptable. And we all have the capacity to change the system in our lifetime. And I close with this. Dr. Alice Walker, who I had the pleasure of meeting in Cuba, and I have to say this as well. Did you know that they have a treatment in Cuba that eliminates the need for diabetic amputations? And I met with the U.S. ambassador in Cuba, asking them not about the embargo and the oppression of the Cuban people, but why don't they allow that treatment in America? They said because they have to protect U.S. business interests. It's in their business interest to cut off people's feet like Kunta Kinte rather than allow this treatment in here to prevent diabetic amputations. This is what we're dealing with, and it should not be acceptable. But Dr. Alice Walker said this: the greatest power is convincing people they don't have any. You have the power, she has the power, and collectively, we have the power to change this system. Thank you.
Thank you so much.